Welcome to this lesson on training and logistics. Now that you have your new dishes developed, there are some logistical changes that you can make to ensure that your food is prepared and communicated well by both your back of house and front of house staff. Firstly, it is suggested you have separate utensils, cutting boards, bowls, etc., and cooking surfaces for plant-based foods. This will help avoid unnecessary customer complaints because vegans and vegetarians will be upset if a stray piece of meat finds its way into their dish. Color coding and labeling helps your staff not get them confused. For example, a restaurant I know bought green-handled knives and cutting boards, trained their staff to use only that color with plant-based ingredients. In Starbucks, you'll see they use different mixing jugs marked dairy and non-dairy to avoid contamination. In McDonald's Singapore, they have two separate oil fryers, one for meat, one for plant-based. For cooking surfaces, honestly, few customers think about this or care, but taking this into account can avoid unnecessary negative complaints. Some restaurants do this by marking off some grill area for plant-based, or they simply put another pan on top of part of the grill to cook that on. Burger King offers an alternative cooking method for their Impossible Whoppers. If you feel these changes aren't possible in your kitchen, just do your best to minimize potential contamination through rinsing, washing, etc., and have your staff prepared to answer if somebody asks about separate cooking surfaces. Secondly, try not to store plant-based foods under animal-based foods to avoid contamination from spillage. This also goes into the design of buffets and salad bars. For example, in some countries, Subway has designed its sandwich ingredients so that the plant-based patties are with the vegetables so that stray pieces of meat don't accidentally fall on them. Whatever you decide on all of these, you want to update your standard operating procedures or manuals to reflect this so that there is consistency. Relating back to buy-in, getting everyone that will be impacted involved in designing these will make it work better. Next comes to developing a common understanding of terms in your F&B business. And honestly, this is difficult because not everyone agrees, and there are so many terms that make it difficult to train staff on this. For example, we have vegan, which means they avoid all animal products. Some vegans, however, are okay with honey. Then there is the term vegetarian, which in Western countries indicates that eggs and dairy are okay, but in India, eggs are not considered vegetarian. And in Buddhist countries, vegetarians will avoid alliums like onion and garlic. Plant-based is a very generic term, so to some, if they say plant-based, they mean they want the equivalent of vegan, while others will be okay with small amounts of animal products. Then there is halal and haram, which also affect the type of meat permissible, not to mention intolerances like lactose intolerance or allergies. So what is the solution? Not only is training for this difficult, but it leads to inefficiency, where wait staff need longer conversations, or have to go back to the kitchen and ask, which can be very frustrating when a kitchen is being slammed. My suggested solution is creating a card like this from a chain called Hans am Glück. They leave this card on every table so people can check as they are looking through the menu to see if there will be a problem. And the people that don't care about it don't pick the book up. Thus, your wait staff won't need to waste any time on this. Another option is to list all the ingredients, but sometimes that can become overwhelming to the reader, and it may make it seem like it's too processed and actually dissuade them from ordering. Another alternative is to have those cards or ingredient lists available upon request, which I've seen several restaurants do. Thus, everything becomes simpler as your staff can simply direct them to look at the card or the book. If you do go that route, simply make it part of the SOP to ask if there are any dietary restrictions, and if someone replies that they are vegetarian, to have some standard follow-up question where they confirm what they avoid. This could be written down in order so the cooking staff have access to the info. More specifically to your front of house staff, it will again be important to update your standard operating procedures and staff manuals so all current and future employees are at the same level of understanding when it comes to identifying your plant-based dishes and handling dietary restrictions. Next, you want to consider having them highlight the plant-based dishes using effective language we covered in the menu and naming lessons. Here again, you don't want to apply the vegan, vegetarian, meat-free labels like you might do in advertising. The World Research Institute looked into this further and suggests you have an opportunity for your front of house staff to try the plant-based dishes and potentially give them talking points they can use to promote them. These are usually related to environment or health. On the environment side, you can talk about having dishes having lower greenhouse gas, water, or land footprints. For health, you want to be careful because, as we mentioned in the lesson on naming dishes, healthy labels can lead people to find the food less delicious. So I would suggest you maybe focus on what it may be extra. For example, if you add beetroot, you can talk about rich antioxidants, or superfoods seem to also do well. This type of language versus, say, cholesterol-free will be better. One way this worked at a restaurant was the chefs hosted demos and tastings for the front of house staff and pre-shift trainings on the benefits of the foods. So the overall key point is preparing your front of house and back of house staff to operationalize the plant-based menu will increase success. I've summarized the options for the next steps on this in the course toolkit under this lesson.